Victor's perspective. Pain. Everything is pain. Every inch of me aches. I already thrashed myself to death yesterday. Perhaps I should have made the case to Cap that her injunction against frivolous regens should take effect after I brought one last recovery. I opened my eyes to see my arms wrapped around Toon's back, between her upper and lower sets of arms. Her upper arms are wrapped around the back of my neck, her lowers are against the side of my chest. Her sleeping face is angled towards mine, over my left shoulder. I trace down the gully, created by her spine, with the fingertips of my right hand. My left reaches up to stroke her ear. In my peripheral vision, I see her glowing eyes open. Hey, I smile. Hey yourself, she smiles back. Sorry again for waking you up last night, and for being a nasty these last few weeks. It's fine, baby. I'm just glad you're back with us. I'm sorry it wasn't me who came to talk sense into you. As to waking me up, you know that evolving on an Ibel world means sleep is something I can basically just do whenever I feel like it. None of the crankiness of a light worlder when waking up either, she chuckles. Some people get all the blessings, I smirk back. Yes, and I'm definitely one of them. Though it is interesting that my biggest blessing was happy to let me sleep with 2 gorgeous men and 5 gorgeous women without him for 2 weeks. Babes, I start warily. What is rule 1 of the cuddle puddle? She rolls her luminous irids. The cuddle puddle isn't sexual. No sex jokes about the cuddle puddle. Yup, it runs the risk of people getting self-conscious and weirded out. Fliss, Fran, and Emmy still ain't interested then? She shakes her head. Felicity is still doing her sun-sun thing. Emiko still says she wants to keep a professional distance. But I think that's what she's saying because she can see how uncomfortable Fran was with the idea, and didn't want her to feel like she had to. I shrug. That's fair enough. Fran would probably feel like she weren't doing her bodyguarding if she let her sleep in a room with all of us. I wasn't there to protect her. In case one of us was a long-con assassin or something. Good of Emmy to recognize that, though. She nods in agreement. Speaking of Fran, I gotta go clear the air with her. You mind letting me up? She nods and rolls off me and I sit up. Muscle's still screaming reproach at me for having annihilated them without fixing them in regen. I reach for the breakfast and meal solution I had the foresight to make up last night. Tuum makes a pretend gagging sound as I chug it down. I'll never understand how you can drink that stuff, baby, she quips with a shake of her head. I just need calories and protein to fix myself up right now. The palate and dining experience ain't a priority, I answer amused. I truly do not envy you persistence hunters for the things you have to do for that stamina. Stealth ambush niche for the win, she smiles. I finish chugging down my breakfast and give her a kiss. You're sure you don't want me to come with? She asks as I dress. I shake my head. I feel like I owe it to her to go alone. If she says she doesn't want to talk to me alone, I might ask you and or Zon to sit in, but I feel like if we go together, she might feel ganged up on. She nods. Okay, good luck. I make to leave, then turn back for one last kiss. Toon smirks. You gonna go? Or stay here, kissing me, all day? I'm gonna go. I just need a bit of Toon power. She giggles and my heart swoops. I love her so goddamn much. Having got enough kisses to recharge my very depleted reserves of Toon power, I bid her goodbye and leave to have what promises to be an awkward conversation. I walk to her door and ring. There are some moments of silence. She has the privacy filled up. Then the door opens and reveals the strongest woman in the galaxy, in a brown tank top and seamless shorts. Her coarse explosion of wavy orange hair is tied into a simple ponytail, and she's covered in sweat. She was working out in her room. I feel guilt kick me in the gut. Her eyes are initially at my midriff, but widen and shoot up, almost meeting mine before they avert to look away. Hey, I wanted to talk to you. I can come back, if now ain't a good time. If you want Zon or anyone else to be here, that's fine with me. She doesn't meet my eyes as she says, We can talk. I don't care. I don't need her to see. There's a moment of hesitation before I ask, Alright, can I come in? Still not making eye contact, she screws up her face for a fifth of a second, apparently embarrassed of having missed the social cue to invite me in, before standing aside and saying, Come in, sit down. I walk into the immaculately kept room. She moved in a few weeks ago, but other than the mannequin holding her ludicrously heavy fantasy armor and plasma war pick, The exercise equipment in the corner of the room and the heavy bag hung from the ceiling in the centre, there's precisely zero sign that anyone lives here. No dirty laundry, no glasses of water on the bedside table, no scraps of paper on the desk, nothing. I make for the armchairs by the coffee table and sit. She's not followed me. Instead, she's tallying off her sweat. Fair enough. I did catch her in the middle of a set, it seems. I'll wait for her to dry herself off. When she finishes, rather than coming to sit opposite me, she walks to the mannequin and relieves it of her billes de carbine, releases the power source that makes it a plasma weapon, and only then walks over to where I'm sitting. This is odd behaviour, but, well, it doesn't read as threatening despite the weapon in her hand, so I don't react, just observe. Reaching me, she places the beck on the table in front of me. Without looking at me, she takes a few steps back, turns to show me her right side profile and raises her right arm to place the wrist at the top of her scalp. At least 5 across, at least 3, she says, not looking at me. Utterly lost, I respond, sorry? At least 5 watts across, at least 3 watts. Break my ribs at least 5 times across, at least 3 ribs, like I did to you, she says, as if asking me to pass her the salt. I'm sure I don't have to tell you to use the hammerhead side, not the beak or the spike. I'm sure you also know that if you hit me full force, you could very likely kill me, so please, just hit me hard enough to break some ribs and no harder. I stare, agog at her for several seconds, trying to work out if she's joking. I eventually come to the conclusion that she's serious, and feel a rising wave of anger well up. I'm about to ask her what the hell she thinks she's playing at when I regain control. Remember that I'm here to apologise and calmly start. I won't be doing that. That's not why I'm here. I'm here to talk to you, like I said. I ain't here for revenge. I ain't here to corporally punish you. She rounds at me, eyes now fixed on mine, prominent brow twisted in a pained expression. I hurt you. The only way to make... Not happening, I interrupt, still fighting to keep the anger out of my voice. Please, put that away. Sit with me and listen. She stares at me with that wounded expression for several long moments, then picks up the nasty weapon and takes it to place it back with the mannequin. Coming back, she slumps into the seat opposite me and doesn't meet my eyes. Okay, first things first, may I call you Fran? I know we all started calling you Fran and you didn't object, but if you prefer Hunter, Ms. Hunter or Gimli, please let me know, I say calmly. I don't offer to call her by any other name. Given that the whole point is to put her at ease, now is not the time to bring up things I only know because of my parasocial relationship with her. Fran's fine, she mutters. Quite enough that I almost don't catch it. Alright, Fran. I have an apology to make. She whips her head to me, glaring, and opens her mouth, but I hold up my hand to stop her. Please, let me finish. She hesitates, then nods, surlily. I have an apology to make. Yes, you heard me. However, I didn't begrudge it even a moment. You beat me and it was a fantastic fight. My apology comes because of what happened next. I should have found you, should have congratulated you, and should have made clear there was no ill will. I got distracted with my own shit, assumed that the fact that I had no hard feelings was obvious, and let you think I was bitter and plotting revenge. I'm sorry. I should have thought about how you'd feel. You should have realised that you don't know me well enough to know that that ain't what I'm like. Sure, this happens, she mumbles. I'm sorry? I didn't catch that. This always happens, she says, fiercely now. I do something stupid, then think something stupid, then it's someone else's job to come and explain it to me, like I'm a child. I hate it. I hate that there's so much I just don't understand about how to be around people. I sometimes think that the Neanderthals just weren't meant for space age. We had our time and it ended. 30,000 years ago. We had our own little niche, living in tiny groups, sprinting down animals in Ice Age Europe, and then we died off because you were just better than us. Your niche let you do what we couldn't. Sure, a single-digit percentage of your DNA might be from my people, but the fact is, my people only exist today because of your people's survivor's guilt. You brought us back, to a world that had left us behind, to a world we don't deserve. You saw that, by your standards. Nearly half of us had a social disorder, and instead of quietly forgetting that you'd ever cloned us back and letting those that you had just disappear into your population, you declared the disorder a condition and kept going. Kept dragging us, kicking and screaming back from oblivion, forcing us to exist in a world we just don't belong in. Among people who can be expected to just know things like there are no hard feelings or offering ribs for ribs is not okay. I've hurt someone I idolise, and the only thing I could think to do was offer to let you hurt me back. And it was just the wrong thing to do, wasn't it? Wow. I think the number of words I've ever heard her speak in person has just doubled in the last 30 seconds. And it was all baggage. Every bit as bad as what I spilled to Cap last night. The phrase, burst damn, comes to mind. Did she say she idolizes me? Okay, Victor, not about you. Ask about that after everything else is sorted, if at all. I want to start, Fran, by saying I'm 30 years old, not 30,000. I wasn't there when the last natural Neanderthals died out. I don't know how it went down. I do know that when you were sharpening spears to hunt mammoths, we were doing the same. It ain't exactly like we're any more cut out for spaceships than you. I wasn't there when we decided to bring you back, and while that is within recorded history, I can't give a full accounting of the reasoning that went into it. I'm sure that no one can, though there'll be people who'd do better than me for sure. Maybe you're right. Maybe it was in part a kind of survivor's guilt, us feeling like we didn't deserve to be the only ones who made it when we had to step over so many others to get there. I don't know. What I do know is that the galaxy is better with you in it. Richer, stronger, sweeter. I know that you deserve the second chance you got. When it comes to ASD versus ASC, I think there were people saying it should be ASC since the 20th century. It ain't just cause Neanderthals that we changed it. We changed it cause disorder implies it's inherently a problem, which it ain't. It's the way some folk are, and it don't make 'em any lesser. I had a Neanderthal in my orphanage. She was also in my class at school. She was tube-born, not natural-born like you. She was meant to be fostered out, but after the war, fostering prospects were a little thin on the ground. She and I were good friends. She says similar stuff to what you've just said. Not meant to's and don't deserves. My classmates didn't help. There were slurs, nasty, mean-spirited stuff. The fact is, she was the brightest in the class and they were jealous. She's a doctor now and married to a man she loves dearly. The point I'm trying to make is, I suppose, does it matter? Does it matter if some arbitrary deity or fate decided your lineage wasn't going to survive the Ice Age? You're here now. What are you going to do about it? 'Cause, well, you're both the strongest woman in the galaxy and its best bodyguard. At least according to the ODR. You ain't doing too badly, I'd say. I take a deep breath, but she doesn't make to speak, so I keep talking. Fran, last night, I realized that I had a ton of issues that I hadn't been dealing with properly. I asked to see a therapist. Don't take this the wrong way, but I think if we can get a therapist, it might be a good idea for you to see him too. I'm happy to listen to you, but I ain't an expert in the human mind, and there's a good chance I might do more harm than good if I try and sort out your problems. This ain't an instruction. It's a suggestion. If we get a therapist, I think you should see him. She nods, a nod of consideration more than agreement. She doesn't say anything. I don't really have anything else to say about any of that, so I decided to satisfy my curiosity about the other thing she said. What did you mean, someone you idolize? I asked, interested. She shifts. I think uncomfortably, and answers, You're someone I idolize. That is consistent with how it sounded, but no less surprising. We met each other for the first time less than 2 months ago. We ain't really spoken much in that time. How'd you end up idolizing me? I ask. She shakes her head. You were a childhood hero. I was 12 when I first saw your face and heard about the new SO position. I thought you were just the coolest. I took up Shaolin to be like you. I wanted to be an SO like you, but no course would have me. Social intelligence too low, couldn't intuit things a garden model wouldn't know. Questions I should ask, meaning of non-explicit gestures, etc., etc. I had to give up on it, eventually, and became a bodyguard instead. Scraped in because the social intelligence demands were just lower enough. That's very unexpected. I knew they'd use my image to promote the new SO course, but I didn't think I had fans. I knew she had a black sash, same as me. Even if I hadn't read it, it'd have been obvious from fighting her, using her southern boxing style. But to think I inspired it. I don't know if I ever made it explicit, Fran, but I'm a huge fan of your bodybuilding. I'd just about given up on reading interviews with bodybuilders when I first read yours. So much of it was just preening and posturing. So much of the advice was factually wrong, sometimes irresponsibly so. Then I read yours, and it was so insightful. I learned something every time I read or watched you be interviewed. You had a really unique perspective on bodybuilding, and I incorporated a lot of your stuff into my own regimen. She narrows her eyes suspiciously. You're just saying that. I shake my head. True, every word. I'm a huge fan, and it's Interesting to learn that you're also a fan of me. Never met a fan before. She ponders that. I stand and say, Fran, it's been wonderful having this heart-to-heart, but I've got stuff to do today and, well, I don't want to make either of our girlfriends suspicious. It really ain't an option for me today, but when I'm recovered, what do you say to a workout session together in the gym? She smiles and nods. I hold out my hand and, hesitantly, she takes it for a handshake. Congrats on that well-earned victory, I wink. Thank you, she says nervously. I make to leave, but she says, Victor? I turn back. Yes, Fran? You're in Shi Daoyuan's lineage, she asks, making it sound more like a statement. Yeah. Never met him, but he's the man who trained the woman who trained the man who trained me. So yeah, 3 generations above me. I don't bother asking how she knew that, given that she's just confessed to being a fan. Though it is a little disconcerting that she just had such a trivial detail in her mind. She was more sure about that than I was. Why do you ask? I question. I am as well, and I thought you'd like to know that we're picking him up on Zin de Quinn. He will be the ship's fitness instructor, and Mistress Miyazaki felt that we could perhaps study under him, improve our CQC. It's not mandatory. Wow, I'd be thrilled. That sounds amazing, I say excitedly. I didn't know we shared Jollet lineage. I guess that makes us cousins. Of a sort other than evolutionary, I quip. This time she's the one to extend her hand. I look forward to studying with you, Shivrumin, she says, using my darling name. I grasp her hand and answer, You as well, Shirufang. We shake and smile. I think this could be the beginning of a beautiful friendship.